So the purpose of this call is to go over the headcount tracking and forecasting process for APJ. I'm not sure so Joe Fresh is actually the one who's responsible for currently updating the Flash, and the way she does that is she uses this file for each region to basically compare against actuals as well as update changes to the Flash per new hires or terminations that things change every month, whether it be a new hire or a termination or a promotion or, any type of job status change. Those are all tracked within this headcount file. So let me just go over. So just as a summary, so this pivot table right here is pulling off of this cost of sale pivot data tab. And what this tab is it's basically a list of every big data professional services employee in the APJ region. And we have 3 different categories. We have the IMG employees, we have the platform employees, and we also have about 2 or 3 employees in APJ that are split across platform and IMG.
Okay.
So for those employees, what we do at the end of every month or at the end of every quarter, whichever you prefer, we allocate a portion of their costs over to the other cost center. So, for example, this employee right here, he has split costs. He's sitting on a B3 cost center. So we would reclass 27% of his cost over to platform within the same region so that we can make sure the costs are allocated appropriately for the shared employees. Again, for APJ, I think there's only 2 or 3. There aren't many. So the way that I was allocating costs, I was allocating them on a monthly basis. But going forward, that's up to you guys to decide how you want to do that. You can do it monthly or quarterly, whichever is easier for you.
Okay.
So this file, all of the data in this file was given to me by HR. I receive a confidential file from HR every quarter, once a quarter, which contains all of the salary information, their primary compensation, as well as their PTB rate. And that's how I prepare the cost forecast rolling out all the way through Q4.
Okay.
So these are actual, the primary compensation is, the base pay is an actual base pay amount. The PTB is basically calculated on the rate for that region. Each region has its own rate. We don't necessarily take the actuals in, for the allocations, we don't take the actuals off of
you use the base.
P&L and split them. We use the base, right.
Okay.
So this file contains employees as well as open recs and as well as fixed recs. So, filled recs, I'm sorry. So we have the employees from here upwards. Then we have 2 filled recs that I have not received a confirmation from HR on their salary. So what I do is we have a certain set of open recs, and what we do is once those open recs have been filled, I change the type to filled rec. That way I know that we do have an employee for this rec, but I haven't received information from HR yet. So that lets me know that that's somewhat of an estimate. It's not an actual cost. And again, it's just for forecasting purposes.
Okay. I have a question. In terms of HR, you have a designated HR contact?
Yes, we do.
Okay.
It's Victoria Doisheva, I think is how you pronounce her last name.
Okay.
And I actually sent her an email today letting her know that the roles were changing. So I will send out an introduction once I hear back from her to each region so that she has, you guys have the actual contact on who to speak with.
It's interesting because it's always the information that's really, really hard to get, even on the normal PSI. So I'm glad that we have a established process with HR and worldwide.
Yeah, we do. And So one thing that the reason why I actually changed the categories on the new hires from open to filled is because Victoria doesn't even have access to the salary information until that employee has gone through one payroll cycle. So if I receive the open rec report and I see that we plan on hiring somebody, but they haven't actually started yet, she can't give me the information. We have to wait for it to actually go through one payroll cycle, and then she can give me the information. So there's a little bit of a delay between when we actually hire the person versus when I actually get the actual salary amount from Victoria. So I like to just keep them not necessarily tagged as an employee, but tagged as something different than an open rec. That way I know that the dollar amounts are estimates.
Okay.
So again, I just wanted to stress this as well. This is the way I did it. You guys don't necessarily have to do it this way. Everyone has their own process of how they like to forecast things. This is just the way that I set it up, and Antonio was on board with it, and it worked for us.
Okay. Understand.
So let me just go through the steps really quickly. Let me go through the data sources first. So the workforce planning SharePoint is my main source of data for updating this file. We received the confidential file once a quarter from Victoria, as I mentioned before. And once you update the dollar amounts as far as base, you don't really have to do it every month because it's an estimate, right?
Correct. Yeah.
So you have the basic understanding of what the employee's annual versus monthly rate is. So, but one thing we do need to make sure every month is that the headcount has either stayed the same, or if we've had terminations or new hires, you do have to reflect those in the file to get an accurate forecast. So the way that I do that is there's a workforce planning SharePoint that contains the headcount for all of HP software, big data, as well as termination report and new hire reports. So every month I will download the 3 reports from that SharePoint and cross-reference the terminations to my tracking file here. So I have basically every termination for FY16 tracked on this one tab for professional services.
Okay. And the source of the file is Victoria, is it?
The what?
The source of the files in the SharePoint is Victoria? I may have missed that, sorry.
No, I think it's the Jenn team that actually
okay.
the files in the workforce SharePoint. Yeah.
Let me go and see whether I can get access to it. I think you put a link on
it. So yeah, so the Jenn team uploads.
Okay, continue on, please. Sorry.
So then I also have a tab here for FY16 all new hires for all regions as well. And I also have a tab to show the history for each employee and the last 3 pay periods. Mainly because the reason why I did this tab was because we changed the MRU structure. It took a really long time to get everybody set up on the right new cost centers that we had created for the FY16 MRU structure. So I just wanted kind of a history to see where people sat within the last 3 pay periods, and that way I could also use this file to compare to the actuals from the EDW report to make sure everyone was where they needed to be. What I do with the ending headcount file from the workforce planning SharePoint is I do a cross-reference from that file to this cost of sale pivot data file to make sure that we have everybody captured, and then I do a vice versa VLOOKUP. So I do a VLOOKUP from the headcount file to the workforce planning file, then a VLOOKUP from the workforce planning file to the headcount file, and that way I'm covered on both files to make sure that everybody's actually captured within this rollout. So, first I add the new recs for the open rec report. Antonia sends that out on Mondays. That comes directly from Joelle's executive assistant. She runs the report for Joelle, and she forwards it out to Antonia once the report is complete. And Antonia said that she would forward that out to the region going forward. So we update the open recs, and then within the open rec report, there's also a tab called filled recs. So I update the filled recs on this data tab, the pivot data tab. If there are filled recs that we don't have the actual salary information, that's where Victoria comes in. And I will send her an email requesting the actual salary amounts for the new hires listed on the fill report.
Okay.
And normally she'll say, if they haven't gone for payroll yet, please remind me in a week or something like that. So you kind of have to make sure you continue to remind her, because, I don't think we're the only group that she's covering. So then what I do is I filter the termination file from the SharePoint on the BDPS business areas, and I compare that file to my termination history to make sure I have all the terminations updated for the current period, as well as the new hire file. I do the same thing to that. And then the two VLOOKUPs, as I mentioned earlier. Refresh the pivot tables after you've done all of your updates to this pivot data tab, and then it'll roll out your forecast. So now we're pretty much done with May. So in order to update the flash, I would ignore May, and I would, bring down the actual cost per EDW down here, and then take the sum of June and the sum of July, add them together, and that would be your Q3 flash. Then I would send that file over to whoever's responsible for flash, and they would use that to make changes to the flash or decide whether or not to leave the flash the same. My responsibility on the file stops before flash, so I think Joe Fresh will kind of pick up where I'm leaving off here regarding the flash piece. My responsibility for the file is just to make sure that it's current, that we have all of the PS headcount documented and, rolling out going forward, whether it be current employees or open recs or filled recs. Each open rec has a target start date attached to it. I will take the open recs and sort them by manager and send them out to the manager and ask them if there's any changes. Do you expect this rec to fill by the target start date listed on the requisition? Usually the answer is no. It's very hard to fill requisitions within PS. And I think we're on hiring freeze right now anyway, so there probably won't be many updates as far as requisitions are concerned over the next few months at least. This pending updates tab, those are updates that I've sent the managers. I've sent the managers a request to make changes to certain employees based on where they're currently sitting, what cost center they're currently sitting on, whether or not it's correct. I'm trying to get everyone corrected prior to handing the file over to each region. That way I'm handing you over a clean set of employees that don't need to be changed. So right now I think we have one in APJ and a couple up here, but I've already received confirmation from the managers that these have all been changed. So I think this is fairly clean to hand over going forward. And I think that's about it. I know I kind of went really fast. Do you have any questions? Hello?
No, looks okay. I mean, the summary is basically we try and get various sources from the workforce planning SharePoint, HR,
Right.
the managers. Oh, sorry, Joel's via Antonia, and the managers as well to try to figure out to make sure we have a good idea what is the regular cost we have from CMB to that will hit our P&L.
Right.
Can I then?
Right.
Okay, I don't know whether you covered this. Then what happens after that? As in, after we do all this.
Well, once the file is updated?
Mm-hmm.
So once the file is updated, I send it to Antonia and Joe Fresh, and they update.
Sorry, they update which ones? Sorry, they update.
So they update. So I send the file to Joe Fresh and Antonia, and they update the. I think it's the comp and ben line on the Flash file.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I'm not 100% sure what happens to the file once I'm done updating it. I just send the complete file with the forecast rollout over to Joe Fresh and Antonia, and they review it together, and they make the decision whether or not to update the flash numbers or to leave them the same and wait till next month. That's that portion's going to come from Joe Fresh as far as training. I'm not sure what their methodology is behind updating the flash file. I just know that they use this file, the details from this file, to get their flash numbers out through Q4, because this file runs out through Q4. So basically, I'm responsible for updating the file and maintaining the tracking file and making sure that it's up to date as much as possible. Obviously, some things are missed because of timing. The reports get uploaded to the SharePoint mid-month and end of month. But if we have a new hire starting, on July 1st, they obviously won't be reflected in that file. So, we'll probably be a little bit under flash or what we expected because I wasn't aware of the new hire. The way that I track the new hires is I use the field report and the new hire report, and I kind of compare the two to make sure that we have everybody captured. New hires, I don't believe, actually hit the new hire report until they've gone through a payroll. So having the field report is a good way to know what's coming and to understand, what to be looking for. So that kind of makes up for the timing issues of the new hires, not being uploaded onto the new hire report yet because of start dates and, payroll runs and that sort of thing.
Okay.
So it's mainly just, I think, so going forward, whoever's going to be maintaining this file would take this file and in 2 days when Tina has uploaded the files to Workforce Planning SharePoint, you would go grab the 3 files and add to this file, add to the tracking file any changes, any terminations, any new hires, any transfers, because we also have transfers in, which is the reason why we do the VLOOKUP from this file to the headcount file, because you won't see transfers on a new hire report because technically they're not a new hire. They're transferring in from another group. So basically to make sure that you have all your bases covered, that's what that VLOOKUP is for between this file and the workforce planning file.
Okay, I understand.
Okay.
Elena, you okay? Any questions on your side?
I just want to check. I think I missed it in the beginning. When do you prepare the file?
So I usually need to get this file updated for Joe Fresh. Usually the last business day of the month so that she can update the flash for her Workday 4 calls.
Okay.
So I think so the reports come out on the 15th, so if you updated it, if you use the reports from the 15th, update the file, and then provide it to whoever's responsible for flash, I think that would be sufficient. But it really depends on who's maintaining flash and when they want it. Joe Fresh wanted it at the end of the month. Antonia liked to see it in the middle of the month as well. So I kind of updated it twice a month. There's really not a lot to update when you're only doing it by region. So, I did EMEA, APJ, AMS, and worldwide. So it took me a little bit of time to update the whole file and make sure that we weren't missing anything. But with APJ, there really aren't many changes every month. So it's basically just a matter of comparing the current file, the file that I hand over to you, comparing that to the headcount file that's uploaded in mid-month, as well as making sure that we have terminations and new hires covered within the file. And what I'll do is I will double check. So I think for the 15th or the 17th, whenever the file is uploaded to the SharePoint, I would suggest that you update this file yourself and then send it to me, and I will download the files myself off of the SharePoint and compare to see if you captured everything that should have been captured. And then I think that will be a good confirmation of just making sure that you know all of the steps and you're capturing everything that we need to capture within the file to get an accurate forecast number going forward.
Okay. So there would be a slight difference in data because of the timing. So this 15, when the headcount report is updated on the 15th, it captures everything as at May 31st?
Yes, it captures everything between May 1st through the 15th. So basically, through the first payroll of the month of June, it'll go through. It'll capture everything.
It will capture the June payroll data as well? No, right?
You won't see payroll data because those files aren't confidential files.
Correct.
You don't, right. So you will only see the headcount data. So yes, it will capture up through the first payroll of the month, which is, for AMS, it's the 15th of every month. So the woman who actually prepares the files, her name is Tina, she waits until that first payroll has run, and then she creates the files and uploads them to the SharePoint. So the files probably won't be updated on the SharePoint until either the 16th or the 17th, because she goes through that first payroll cycle on the 15th, and she lets that cycle through before she creates the reports on the SharePoint. Actually, let me see if I can go there just to kind of show you what you'll see. So this is the workforce planning site. You go to the metrics and reporting on the left margin, and then you click on non-confidential report, FY16, Q3. We'll look at May. So you'll see she has a folder here for mid-month. That's where she stores all of the mid-month, which these would be like the May 15th reports.
Yep.
And these are the end-of-month reports. So you see you have the termination report, the new hire report, and the headcount report. The confidential, I don't have access to it. I don't really know if there's salary within that file or not, but I have a feeling that's probably for the upper executive team for their reference only.
Yep.
And then the contingent headcount report, which I don't use that either, so I really only use these three. Mm-hmm. And I have I have the latest file from HR, which I will forward you separately, which does contain the salary amounts, which is where this file was, where the amounts within this headcount file were derived from. So I would ask HR for an updated file, probably mid-July. That way you can have an updated salary file for Q4 to make sure, that if anybody was promoted or their salary had changed, make sure that you're capturing it, the increase correctly. But
Okay.
things very rarely change as far regarding like employees. Employees really never get, their salaries don't change until the end of the year usually, unless there was a job description change.
Okay.
Which doesn't happen often either.
Yeah. All right. I'll do a parallel run this month with you, so that way I can gauge to ensure that understanding is correct.
Okay. Yep. That's fine.
Yep. All right.
Okay. So do you still have the file that I sent? I did update the invite with the notes that I added to this file with the steps, and kind of make sure to cover all your bases with the steps up here, and then kind of the data sources, a list of the data sources and where I get the information, the files that I use to update the file. Are you all set with this information, or do you need me to resend you this file?
You've already sent the file with the notes, right?
I sent the file, but the notes are actually embedded in the invite that I sent. I sent an update earlier today with the notes.
Yep. I see your notes. Maybe you just resend the file so it's a little bit easier. Can you do that, please? Yeah. Thank you.
Okay.
All right.
Are you good, Wei-Bian?
Yes, Jen, I'm good. Thanks. Your description was very clear. Yep.
Okay. So we'll plan to, you guys, or Elena will update the file mid-month, and I will double check the file once she's complete, and we'll go from there.
Yep.
Okay.
Awesome. All right. Thank you, guys.
Thank you,
All right.
Jen.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.